Welcome back, everybody, to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSperts. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen, and as is Tuesday tradition, Andy's over on the BetSperts golf show talking about whatever the heck's going on. I don't actually know what golf tournament is this week. I know we talked about
Oh,
it
it's the
yesterday, but I
players.
forgot about it already.
It's the
Oh, it
players.
is the
This is a
players.
big
The
one.
players
This
a
is
lot
the
of
fifth
fun.
major. This is a
like
big one. This is a fun one.
everyone's favorite golf tournament. They always pitch it as, which
It's
I
a
don't know
lot
how
of
the
fun.
majors.
Last year made it so much fun too because I think it was middle of the week. It was their Friday or Saturday. They had the wacky weather and the guy shooting at 17. Just the wind was whipping and nobody could hit it. And if they were hitting it, it was
That was awesome.
kind of half luck, and it was just total carnage. And I think it ended up stretching to Monday because one day got completely washed out. So it was chaotic. It gave us Monday golf, and we had what probably the most entertaining day of watching golf with people trying to hit it on 17. So this is always a fun tournament. It's great. It's a great course. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows 16, 17, and 18 at TPC Sawgrass, and all the players are there. I mean, it's always the best non-major field of the year.
As someone that loves watching professional golfers struggle, I mean, the U.S. Open's my favorite. I just like the week before the U.S. Open, those few days beforehand, everyone's bitching about the grass being too high and the fescue. I read as much of that content as I can. I soak it all up. And then, like, to watch 17, like you said last year, and I know the grounds crew probably try to do everything they can, honestly, to slow that green down. They just could not get the ball one after another in the water over and over again all day. It's nice to see them be human.
Yeah, and you had I think it was yesterday, it was yesterday after Bay Hill where Kurt Kitayama won at 9 under and Rory was 8 under. Rory was complaining that the course was playing a little bit too hard and that people don't want to see golfers compete, trying to make bogeys. They're trying to make par instead of bogey. They want to see them try and make birdie instead of par. I love when golfers are struggling to make par because it kind of humanizes them a little bit more, and it actually makes that rare birdie like even more special when some and also it's not like this was the U.S. Open at Shinnecock where the winners are trying to break par and they're 1 over, 2 over, 1 under, whatever. I mean, the winner was at 9 under with a bunch of people at 8 and 7, so it's not like this was Winged Foot or Shinnecock where the 5 over won the tournament.
Yeah, and not all birdies are the same. I'll say, Mr. McElroy, I want one putt birdies. All these 2-putt birdies, they got the par fives that are basically par fours at this point. It's boring. Even tap in birdies, kind of, I roll my eyes at. Like, just that's what's more fun. I like watching them play on tough courses. I think you're right. All those shots look better. Chip ins are more fun. When somebody actually puts a ball like within 5 feet, that is always more impressive. It just ratchets it all up. So that'll be a fun tournament when we're done.
That was
here.
golf talk.
Make sure you jump over there. Both of us like golf. We don't really know too much about it. I mean, we'll see. I'll find some goofy stuff to bet because I do. I like this tournament. This is going to be a great week. Get the players, all this college
conference
basketball,
championships. Yep.
Great tennis tournaments. The NBA is still going on, and I guess we'll start there. I mean, how are you feeling at this point? I want to check in. You were really optimistic about.
Oh no, it's over. We're dead. It's
over.
it's totally done.
Couldn't even last a whole week.
No, and you know what? I think I even said it. If I'm, if they have a bad week, I'll own it, and I completely own it. I was wrong. I convinced myself to get back into it, and they played a couple good games, got me back into it, and now I'm all the way back out. They're done. I actually want to go the other direction. Let's try and get ourselves a top 4 pick so we keep that lottery pick.
The Pacers loss has to hurt because the Pacers have just kind of snookered you guys all year. I mean, the first game, you guys do beat them comfortably, but the last 3, it feels like it was all really close games at the end, and Halliburton just kind of rose above. So
the previous, this one was tough. The previous 2, the Bulls had 20-point leads in each of them and blew 20-point leads in both and just completely collapsed in the second half. This one was at least this one was a back and forth game, but you look at the box score and the Bulls shot like 40% from 3, which is a lot better than they normally do. They shot 61% from the field, I think it was, but Indiana took like 15 more 3-pointers than they did. Indiana only shot like 30-something% from 3, but Indiana made 16 threes. The Bulls made 10. The Pacers win by 3 points. Like, the Bulls just try and match. Eli over at Bleacher Nation does a great job of covering. I read his stuff a lot. Like, the Bulls just always try and match 3-pointers with mid-range jumpers. And, I'm not the biggest math guy, but you're at a disadvantage when you're trying to make 2 every time the other team makes 3. So that's Matt's math minute for this Tuesday. 2 is not as much as 3.
The good news is, Matt, you don't have any Bulls games. You could be safe
True.
watching
Give me some
NBA
good bets here.
basketball tonight. 8 games tonight. Quickly looking at some of the ones I have not bet so far. Bucks Magic. Bucks are 7-point favorites. Looks like Giannis is going to play. Thought maybe about it under there, but everything looks right. Double check the schedules in your models. This is a makeup game. The Wizards are going to play the Pistons. This is a game that got postponed earlier in the season. I believe this was due to travel issues. I think it was Detroit or Washington got stuck in some airport, so they pushed this one back. The Wizards are 8-point favorites, which looks a little husky, but we got away with a push last night on Detroit. I'm not doing that 2 nights in a row, so I'll let that one go. The Knicks are 10-point favorites, but be careful. Brunson might play tonight. This still should be big favorites, but without Brunson, you definitely can't lay double digits, even against a putrid Hornets team. My 76ers, 2.5-point underdogs in Minnesota, which tells me Joel Embiid is probably not going to play tonight. That number looks just about right. And then the only other game here left that I don't have a bet for, Jazz Mavericks. Mavericks are 9-point favorites over Utah. Sure, that's fine. Utah is basically kind of just losing games at the end here. And as bad as Dallas has been, 9 points is probably about right. If you have to scratch the itch for that game, maybe that's something like a Jazz team total over. I mean, this Mavericks defense has been awful. So all the other games, but 3 plays for me here. We'll start with something I know you're going to like this because everybody likes this. And I think I'm like 2-2, maybe 2-3 on these, but plus 480, plus 500. We're going back to our Rockets first half here. Again, a Rockets team that is just writing an absolute how-to guide for tanking this season has just been incredible, especially at home in terms of coming out, playing 2, even 3 sometimes great quarters of basketball and just falling apart in the fourth quarter to just an incredible level here. They host the Brooklyn Nets tonight. They're 6-point underdogs in the full game, but still a 3-point underdogs in the first half. Happy to play that here. I had this closer to a pick on myself. And then, we're going to line up and do this. You can find this. I believe this is under the same game parlay section at FanDuel. Was where I found this one, but every book has some version of this. Rockets to win the first half, Nets to win the full game, plus 480. Again, show a little value here on the Rockets. And instead of just betting the Rockets money line, which I like, I think putting it together kind of in this parlay is much better than what you're going to get, say, if the Rockets win the first half and then you take the Nets money line, put that together. I don't come close to this 480 number. So happy to play that as well. The Oklahoma City Thunder host the Golden State Warriors tonight. Yes, Steph Curry is back. Not that I'm expecting some sort of injury management here, but this would be a game to kind of dial down his minutes a bit. And even if he does play here, sorry, Jason, you got me. That's a very funny question. I'll address that in a second. The Thunder have been fantastic at home. They're a great perimeter defense team. I actually like the way they match up with this Warriors squad. There really isn't a big man on this Warriors team that's really going to punish them. There's not someone that likes to attack the basket that's really going to punish them at the rim. And the Thunder have had success against Golden State this year. I had this game as maybe Golden State a 1-point favorite, something like that. And they've been really bad on the road as well. Put it all together. I love the Thunder plus 4 here. Should be a great game for them tonight. Again, everybody brings their best against Golden State. And then the Grizzlies team total under 112. There's 112.5s out there. I had this closer to 110, almost 109 myself. The Lakers without LeBron James have really started to slow down some of these basketball games. And Anthony Davis has been fantastic defensively. He's someone that, had he played more games, might have been an interesting candidate for Defensive Player of the Year, but probably a little bit too little too late. But again, in those games we've seen for the last couple of weeks, the defense of the Lakers have been fantastic. Again, Davis putting Vanderbilt together, having Beasley out there on the floor, just really a much better unit. They continue to strap down on some of these teams. And the Grizzlies lost Brandon Clark for the year. I know the John Morant news takes precedent here, but Brandon Clark's a very important player for them. They now miss him. They now miss Steven Adams. It's just Jaren Jackson Jr. out there by himself. They're really going to have to stretch him thin. You lose a lot of great pick and roll activity. You lose a lot of offensive rebounding there. And with no John Morant, this Grizzlies team has really struggled to score. I look at this matchup. The Lakers should really be able to control this game and keep this Grizzlies team under 110 points. So anything 112 or higher looks pretty good. And yeah, Jason, I don't know. It's really tough. John Morant has to sort of figure out what's going on. There's been a lot of news leaking out. There was an interesting report this morning that the night he did go out like that, there had been a players-only meeting about not going out and trying to take the season a little bit more seriously. So
a lot
of egg on the a lot of egg on the young man's face, but he's 23 years old. Take a second, pause, and remember how stupid you were when you were 23 years old. And, hopefully in a season where the Grizzlies are sort of falling apart already, maybe this becomes the story as opposed to kind of how bad of a second half they've had. He can kind of get himself together, come back next season, be a better teammate and stuff. And it might be good for the team kind of moving forward, but it's a rough situation in Memphis. And if Morant, there's again another report that maybe he had a gun on a team plane, which is just a rule in the NBA. I think that's 50 games. No, don't pass, go right to jail kind of situation. And the NBA has been good about that stuff. So get away from those Grizzlies.
Yeah, it's not a story I'm really going to dive too deep to and try to analyze. Just hope that Ja Morant can kind of figure things out, whether that's him doing it on his own, whether some teammates helping him out, whether some veterans sitting him down and talking to him. That guy's got as bright of a future in the league ahead of him as long as he keeps his head on straight.
Yeah, so hopefully he figures it out. Nothing but positive thoughts there, but yeah, don't get invested in anything Memphis Grizzlies related anytime soon. But the NBA moves on. How much hockey do we have left?
We're getting there. We got about a month of hockey, maybe a little bit more month of hockey left here. I'll get the last day is like April 13th, April 14th, right around there. So right before tax day. We got up until about tax day. I do have a couple of games tonight. I think it's like a 5 or 6. Taxes and hockey, they go together like peanut butter and jelly. A couple of games that I got tonight. I didn't really love the slate. We're getting to the point of the year where you're starting to lose a lot of the value on the plus money puck lines. You're not really getting the really good teams against the really bad teams with plus money. Like Tampa, I think, is playing somebody bad tonight. It might have been Columbus or another team at the bottom, and it's minus 140 if you want to get them at minus 1.5. So it's really just not worth it any value there. But I did think I found a little bit of value on the slate here tonight. First, we're going to take Vegas on the money line at plus 125 against Florida. The Panthers have just been really up and down all season, and I don't really trust them, whether it's at home. They have been a better team on home ice, but they've been inconsistent in both spots. Vegas is still a team competing for the playoffs. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be a team that has the potential to challenge for the West in a weaker Western Conference, granted. And they're playing pretty decent hockey. They've won their last 3 games with wins over Carolina, New Jersey, and then Montreal, who's not as good, but still 3 wins in a row for them. Granted, those were all at home, but they've beaten a couple pretty good teams. So I really like the value there, plus 125 on Vegas. And then we're going to go to Minnesota, where the Wild will host the Calgary Flames. Flames played last night in Dallas. They did win 5-4. But prior to that, they lost 5 in a row, which the game before Dallas, they lost 3-0 at home to Minnesota. So not really playing well, not scoring a ton of goals. They have, outside of last night and the previous 5 games, they'd only hit 3 or more goals twice. And I don't think it was any of them eclipsed 3. So just 3 or more, or 3 goals just twice. The rest of the games under that. Minnesota has been playing some really, really good defense. They do it all year. It's kind of what they're known for. That's been their brand of hockey for as long as, the Wild have been competitive. But they are, I'm trying to pull it up here. The last 12 games, it's been they've allowed 3 goals or less in all of them. And in 10 of those 12, they've allowed 2 or fewer, excuse me. They've won 4 in a row, including that shutout win against the Flames. They don't score a ton of goals either. Like, they're not winning these games 5-1, 6-1. They win these games, 3-1, 2-1, 2-0, 3-0, stuff like that. So 6 goals, I think, is a lot for a Wild team that's playing at home, probably going to dictate the pace because we have a Flame team that played last night in Dallas, has to travel. So give me that under. I know you're laying a little bit of juice there, but I really like that under tonight.
I like both of these. Now, what do you think about the Golden Knights minus 1.5 goals plus 240?
If you like a team, we talked about this in baseball, and it's not quite as much. It's not quite as true in hockey, obviously, because there's a lot more 1-goal games than there are 1-run games in baseball. But if you like a team to win a game, and that value pretty much doubles to get you to minus 1.5, you might as well sprinkle it. I'd probably take both to be safe. I'd probably hop on the money line as well. And that way, if it does hit, you double dip. And if it doesn't hit, but they do win by, they win 3-2, you're not left feeling terrible. But if you like the money line, you might as well give it a shot on the 1.5.
I think I'm going to put the 2 together, and you can sort of create a -1. Basically, you bet that minus 1.5, and whatever the stake is you put there, you put that to win that stake on the money line. So basically, if they win by 1, you get the money line, break even. You push basically, but if they win by 2, you cash them both. So
I like it.
To that.
Let's go. Let's go Vegas. And if you're going to gamble, it might as well be on Vegas.
Is something poetic about that. Like,
Yeah,
again, we're gonna have to bet Calvin Ridley, comeback player of the year next year, just out of support for a brother.
exactly. He's one of us. He identifies with us.
I hope he finds a way to bet on himself.
Do you think
I
he bets on
digress, but
tennis?
he should.
Can
Everyone
he? Is he
should.
allowed to bet on tennis?
Probably, he
Probably.
probably isn't allowed to bet on anything
That's
anymore.
probably fair.
It's probably a good idea for him to maybe not be into that. But
Yeah, that's a fair
yeah,
point.
another great week. Again, we've got the fifth major in golf and kind of the fifth major in tennis. I don't know, it'd be the fifth, 5A and 5B with Miami basically here, but should be a great week of tennis. Even though Novak Djokovic couldn't make it, the men's tournament will be great. A lot of fun players there. The women's side is absolutely stacked. Iga Swiatek, of course, the favorite. Kudos to anybody. She opened, I think, plus 250 last night, has been beaten up all the way down to plus 150. So little CLV there. And as much as I like her chances, there's a couple really nice numbers out in the outright market. The tournament itself actually starts tomorrow. There's another round of qualifying. I'll have some picks for that in a second. But three women I really like here, and I'll start with Belinda Bencic. A player who had struggled physically over her career, but has been doing some different training, seems to be much healthier, much better kind of managing what's going on. And when healthy is one of the 5 to 10 best players on tour consistently. I look at her spot in this draw. She is down. I believe that is she's in the fourth quarter there. Has a nice couple first round matches. Should be has a bye in the first round. Will be a prohibitive favorite the second and third rounds. Then likely faces Coco Gauff, maybe Amanda Anisimova, but should comfortably beat either young American. And at that point, she's in the quarterfinals. Now, maybe Australian Open champion Arina Sabalenka is there, but Sabalenka has historically struggled on these courts. They generally don't play well with her style. Krejcikova, who was able to get the win, the last player to beat Iga Swiatek, is also down there. So that quarterfinal will be a little bit tough, but if Bencic can make it through there, it looks like she's in a good spot to make the finals. So like her quite a bit here. We'll play this at 25 to 1 or better, but there's some 28s out there. And a possible Bencic opponent in the semifinals, Veronika Kudermetova. Really love this. If you're looking to bet outrights in this tournament, I think the third quarter is the place to start, and she is by far my favorite name in that quarter. May bet her to win the quarter when those markets open up somewhere, hoping for like a plus 600, something in that range to do that. But again, will be a prohibitive favorite here in her first 3-4 matches. I mean, really, as I scroll down, I don't think that there's anyone that has a chance of being a favorite over her until she gets to the quarterfinals. And that would be Jessica Pegula. It'd be a great match. Pegula has been in good form lately, so I expect that to be the quarterfinal. But like Kudermetova's chances in that match, and again, if she can get through, hopefully we have her and Bencic to give us a guaranteed finalist. That sure would be nice. And again, we play this at 25 to 1 or better. There's some 28s out there. And this one is a bit of a rogue number. You're going to have to go offshore for this one. I haven't seen 80 to 1, but really anything 70 to 1 or better on Paula Badosa, I think is a really nice bet. Now, she's in the second quarter, so would have to get through Iga just to get to the final, which can be tough, but is in a nice spot in the draw. We'll eventually probably have to play Elena Rybakina, which, really is going to be her toughest match. But once she gets through there, again, she's back to kind of being a comfortable favorite here. Ons Jabeur is at the top of the quarter. She's soaking up a bunch of equity, but has really had a poor start to the year and generally struggles here. So like the spot here for Badosa at a nice big number. So 3 outrights here in Indian Wells on the women's side. Bencic, again, 25 to 1 or better. Kudermetova, 25 to 1 or better. Or Badosa, 70 to 1 or better. And to fill out the tournament, Matt, we have qualifiers, which is kind of fun. I actually like this about tennis, that we like. It's a good way to fill out the bracket. It seems more fun than like the extra 4 games in the tournament.
I just like that I'm seeing some plus money numbers here. That's and I see an over. I see a plus. I see some plus monies. I'm in. I want to hear all about them.
All right, let's get into it. Just 2 bets and qualifiers. Again, we're down to the last, I believe it's 8 matches of qualifiers here, and a lot of those lines look pretty solid, but 2 numbers I like quite a bit. Anna Karolina Schmidlova plays against Laura Siegmund in what should just be a war of a first set. Try to stack this one up if you can. Wasn't able to do that yesterday, but got our first set over, and kudos to anybody that was able to stack that one up. Should be a great first set. Again, expecting 7-5, 7-6 here. Had this number honestly closer to 10. So, to be able to get over 9.5, even at standard juice, would be great. There's a plus 105 out there. So like that quite a bit. And then an underdog, Christina Buxa, which I always want to say Buska, but
that's honestly, when I saw that, I thought the same thing.
It's not misspelled, folks. You got to look Buxa. A really great player. And again, what are kind of the market biases? A lot of these Spanish players seem to get downgraded on hard courts for whatever reason. with the general thought being that historically they played a lot more clay tennis than they have hardcore tennis. But Books has got a couple of years of WTA level hardcore tennis under her belt. All the numbers look really good. She goes up against Elena Gabriela Ruse, someone that, again, I fade quite a bit. And so, disagree with the market there. Generally like Books. So this looks like a nice spot. I had this match, honestly, closer to kind of a pick 'em. Maybe Ruse a short favorite. And again, a lot of that's adjusting kind of out of respect for some of the sharper books here that, again, have Ruse as a solid favorite. So, kind of my raw number I started is almost a pick 'em. I like Books quite a bit here at plus 150. So happy to play her. That one will be about 3:30 Eastern. And then the first one will be 2 p.m. Eastern. So you got some time to get that in. And there's baseball happening. There's some sort of baseball event.
Well,
do we have anything to say about that?
We're not getting to the World Baseball Classic yet. We'll get there. Okay. I want to watch a little bit more first. We have some MLB futures, which is what I'm still trying to dive into a little bit more here. Some might call this a homer pick, but he's not a White Sox anymore. But I'm going with, first off, Jose Abreu to lead the AL and RBI, or to lead the majors and RBIs, excuse me. Last year was a down year for him a little bit in terms of RBI production. Only had 75, but he still hit 304, which is third best batting average of his career. Prior to that, he finished second in the MLB and RBIs in 2021, first in 2020, first in 2019. And in any season he's played 140 games plus, he's had 100 plus RBIs. He now goes to a Astros lineup where he's going to hit like fifth or sixth. He's probably not going to be your fourth or third or fourth hitter because that lineup is so deep, but that's just going to give him even more chances with good players in front of him on base. I think he's going to be in a great chance to drive in a bunch of runs. I think with how deep that lineup is, teams are going to be forced to pitch to him. And I think last year, the quote unquote down year where you saw his power numbers dip a little bit, was more of an indictment on the White Sox approach. If you look at their lineup, home runs were down throughout the entirety of it. He was still producing. He was still picking up hits. And I think you're going to see those power numbers return a little bit this year, especially with a really deep Houston lineup. And for a guy that's, been first or second in the AL and RBIs three of the last 4 years, I think there's some real value there for a really, really good Houston team. And that leads me into the Astros to be the AL 1 seed at plus 230. Not a ton of value there, but if you look at the AL, it's really just going to come down to the Astros or the Yankees. And I know the Yankees went out and got Carlos Rodon. I know the Astros lost Justin Verlander, but the Astros are still really deep in that pitching rotation. Lance McCullers is healthy. They have Framber Valdez, they have Christian Javier, all really good last year. The lineup is as good as anybody in baseball, and they go ahead and add Jose Abreu to it. They're really, Yuli Gurriel was a fine player, but first base was kind of their weak spot, and they go from a middle of the road offensive first baseman to a guy that's, like I said, led the majors in RBIs 2 of the last 4 years. And as good of a hitter as Jose Abreu, who's also playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder this year. He wasn't totally thrilled with how things ended with the White Sox, and he kind of said that in an interview last week. So I think you're going to see a very motivated Jose Abreu to prove that he's not really done yet, that he was last year is a little bit more of a fluke. So I like him at 40-1 to lead the MLB and RBIs, and that 1 seed at plus 230. I'm also talking to Dan and you a little bit before. I'm going to take a little bit of the Iga Swiatek to win the French Open futures approach, where I'm going to start throwing some futures parlays with that Astros AL 1 seed, because that plus 230 really juices things up. And I did check the Iga price to win the French Open. It's minus 110 right now. So there's really not a whole lot of value to it there. Still might take it, but we'll see. But Astros to win the
There's value in that number.
There's still value in that number. I'll take it. But parlay that with Astros to win the AL, and you got a plus 530 parlay, which is kind of nice. You parlay the Astros to win the AL with the Bruins to win the Stanley Cup, who've been the best team in hockey all year. It goes from plus 400 for them to win to plus 1550. So Dan's talked about it too, but I think there's some really good value there to juice your futures parlays with some Astros to win the AL number 1 seed. I just don't buy into the Yankees yet. I still need to see more out of them. Like I said, I know they added some pitching, but that lineup was really, really inconsistent at the end of the year. And if it was, they had the great start to the year where they got to 51-19 or whatever the hell it was, but then really, really fell off towards the end. And they're just a step below Houston for me. So I think it's Houston and everybody else in the AL. So I really like that value of plus 230.
What do you think about this Alvarez MVP bet here? I hear this Jordan Alvarez guy is good at hitting baseballs.
He's really good at hitting baseballs. The problem is he's a primary DH, and they don't tend to give those guys MVPs all that often. Can it happen? Absolutely. But you're going to need him to stay perfectly healthy. He's going to have to play 150 games pretty much, and he's going to have to leave no doubt between himself, between Judge, between Shohei Ohtani, between Mike Trout. Like, he's going to have to, no doubtedly, there can't be a question about who had the better year of him and those three other guys. So it's tough, but like, it's 16-1. He's going to be a guy that's going to hit probably 40 home runs and probably challenge for 50. So if you get down years from those other guys, which Ohtani in a contract year doesn't seem likely, it might be worth a shot at 16-1.
Yeah, the Ohtani thing kind of messes it up. He's one of those guys like, why is LeBron MVP every year? Yeah. Why isn't Ohtani just MVP every year?
Like last year, the Angels were terrible last year. And I mean, Judge ended up pulling away towards the end, but I mean, the talk was into September, like, well, he still probably could win AL MVP and maybe should, even though the Angels were a terrible baseball team. So, and he was going up against, captain of the Yankees, Aaron Judge. Like, that should be the prototypical, he's going to win the MVP every year kind of guy. And Ohtani was still in the talk. So it's going to be tough for anybody to dethrone Shohei Ohtani as like the consistent presence atop the AL. And now Judge is there too. I think it's going to be those two and everybody else for the foreseeable future. Well, I guess Ohtani might be leaving the AL soon, but we'll see about that. Did
you realize that you and I have a rivalry game here in college basketball? St. Joe's, Loyola Chicago.
I'm not a Loyola Chicago guy. I'll honestly probably root for you. I'll probably root for St. Joe's.
I kind of forgot St. Joseph's now has had a basketball team. Good for them. I mean, do you got any college basketball action? Well, Sal, my Explorers are going to play Rhode Island today. I got to find some action in that.
Honestly, I threw it up on BetSperts yesterday. It's like, start sending me conference tournament futures. I don't really know what to bet, and I want something to root for, so I got to go check the comments. Hopefully, I got some good ones there. But no, like I've been trying to get into college basketball, and I'm into it a little bit since the NFL ended, but like, still haven't gotten into it too consistently. The only strategy I think I'm probably going to go with is fading the Big Ten in the first and second round of the NCAA tournament, because it seems like every year they're the team that gets 8 or 9 in. It's like, oh, they're the deepest league, and then they lose to Mountain West teams, they lose to SEC teams. They just seem to not be able to turn it into that tournament style. So that's probably what I'm going with. But I would like some conference championship futures. So if anybody's got them out there, feel free to send them my way.
We'll have to shake
only if they're going to win. Only if they're going to win. I only want if they're going to lose, don't send them to me.
That's good. That's true. So thanks, everybody. And honestly, when you're done, leave here, go over to BetSperts Golf, and just harass Andy for college basketball bets. He'll have to give them out. Basically go over there and shake them down. But thanks, everybody. I think that's all we've got. Again, thanks again for all the comments. Give us a thumbs up and a like and all that great stuff. And we'll see you tomorrow for a little hump day action.